Welcome everyone to the Happy Diabetic Kitchen Podcast, and in this episode, we explore the delicious world of mushrooms. We've got a great team of mushroom growers on the podcast today, our amazing recipes of the podcast, some great mushroom tips, and so much more. So stay tuned everybody, we will be right back. I am Chef Robert Lewis, the Happy Diabetic, and welcome to the internet's most delicious cooking podcast. I'm here in the kitchen getting ready to explore a healthy diabetic lifestyle. I want to take the mystery out of healthy cooking and explore some amazing foods and my diabetic journey with all my successes and my challenges. Let me help you live your best happy diabetic lifestyle. So welcome to the kitchen, and if you're new to the show, I am so happy you're here today. In today's podcast, we chat with an amazing team, Jason and Katie. They operate a gourmet mushroom farm called 3 Mile Mushrooms. So get ready, fasten your seatbelt. Today is everything gourmet mushrooms. We've got a couple recipes of the podcast, a lion's mane, vegetarian crab cake, and how to make the perfect sauteed mushrooms. Gonna take the mystery out of that for you. We'll also have plenty of tips on cooking up the perfect mushroom and so much more. So stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back. If you're new to the show or a longtime listener, again, let me introduce myself. I'm Chef Robert Lewis, the Happy Diabetic. Why, you ask? Well, I want to share my journey of living with type 2 diabetes since I was diagnosed in 1995. Why? Well, to help you live and navigate your best happy diabetic life. Why? So you can be healthy and have much better glucose control and cook and eat in a happy and healthy lifestyle way that's sustainable, not a fad diet. Why? So you can learn to enjoy the food you love in moderation and learn to kick up your chef skills. Why do you ask? So you can live your best happy diabetic life. Join my journey at happydiabetic.com, where you're going to find all my podcast episodes, recipes, cookbooks, an amazing community of humans on my Facebook groups. I also want to invite you to join my VIP newsletter and receive free my 7 steps to my healthy diabetic control plan and some eating tips you won't want to miss. So, the question I asked today, how can I help you live your best happy diabetic lifestyle? Go to my website, happydiabetic.com, hit the contact link, reach out to me, and let's chat. Okay, everybody, welcome back to the kitchen. We have an amazing moment with an amazing couple of folks that have joined me today to talk all about mushrooms. And you know, we've done many mushroom episodes, but never with some growers. So hi everybody, how you doing?
Doing great.
Why don't you just introduce yourselves really quick?
My name's Jason Dollard. I live in Thomson, Illinois. We operate a mushroom farm called 3 Mile Mushroom.
Okay.
My name is Katie Joens, and I am assistant grower at 3 Mile Mushroom Farm.
Welcome, guys. I'm really happy you're here in the kitchen today. I have a quick question to ask you. Are you guys ready to get happy?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Well, let's get right into this because we love mushrooms in the Happy Diabetic Kitchen, and they are so good for you and so nutritious, but we've never had an expert grower on the podcast, so I'm just super excited about that. All right, so Jason, let me ask you this question. How did you guys get started in this?
Total accident. Well, my affinity for mushrooms started at a young age because of just the mystery of it was just baffling to me. Where do mushrooms come from? How do they grow? You know, all those questions with no answers back then. before the Google box was in your pocket. So I started digging deep and trying to educate myself and learn and read books and find out how to grow mushrooms on my own. Back then, anybody with information wouldn't help you. It was a secret. So, kept reading books, and eventually I was able to grow mushrooms on my own. But I always did it as a hobby. By education, I'm a substance abuse counselor. And I moved to Illinois from Colorado. I decided to scale up on my mushroom growing, and now I'm a mushroom farmer.
So what kind of mushrooms do you grow? What varieties or what types do you grow?
Yeah, okay, we grow shiitake, we grow lion's mane, wide variety of oysters, chestnut mushrooms, piapino, turkey tail,
reishi.
Yeah, well, some strictly medicinal mushrooms, like reishi.
Okay.
It's not really too edible.
But for medicinal purposes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you're growing specialty mushrooms,
Exactly.
gourmet style mushrooms.
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you walk us through, no secrets now, I don't want you to divulge any secrets, but I think I'm curious, and I know the happy diabetics listening out there are just curious, how does a mushroom grow?
Yeah, that's a pretty easy question. It starts off in the lab on a petri dish from either a clone, or what would be the equivalent to spore, or a liquid culture,
Okay.
which is just live mycelium suspended in a nutrient broth that it grows on the grain, and then I add it to what would be called a fruiting block, which is comprised of soybean hull, oak sawdust, and hydrated to 60%. And then from there it goes into incubation, and then which it reaches a certain point, then I take it to the fruiting room and grows mushrooms.
In the same soil then? Or a different soil?
No, in the same fruiting block.
Okay.
We use what's called a master mix, and that's just the medium that we choose to grow on.
Okay, awesome. I like that.
There's a wide variety of mediums you can use.
Okay, awesome. So when you decide you're going to make some shiitakes or oysters, how long is that process?
Well, depending on the strain, like for instance, shiitake from start to finish is going to take roughly 10 to 12 weeks. Oysters from start to finish could be as quick as just 4 weeks. And chestnut mushrooms are about 8 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah,
what's
sure.
the climate like?
I keep my humidity, my relative humidity in the grow room at a constant 75 to 85, with the temperature roughly in the high 50s to low 60s ideally.
And do you have special lighting, or do you have dehumidifiers, or what? I don't.
Yeah, we got the humidifiers and lights. Basically, run 8 hours a day.
You've got all these mushrooms growing. Once you harvest the mushrooms, do you start over from the petri dish mode, or can they keep growing from what you've grown?
I could,
like you pick a tomato, another
Yeah.
one might grow.
yeah, okay. Let's say I harvest one of the fruiting blocks,
Okay.
and I will get 2 flushes out of it.
And what's a flush?
A flush is a cluster of mushrooms.
Okay.
So I'll harvest, and then I'll wait a couple weeks, and then grow some more. And then I'm done with that block and rotate the blocks in and out
Interesting.
of the room.
Well, let's talk about the dehydrated.
Yes.
Right? So what's that process like?
That process is anything that I think isn't as pretty as it should be, but still, the flavors and nothing's, wrong with it. I choose those to dehydrate. So.
And how long does that process take typically to dehydrate mushrooms?
We dehydrate for 3 hours in a dehydrator, commercial dehydrator. So we could do plenty of bags a day.
How do you bring them back? So when you get ready to use a dehydrator, what's typically the method?
To use them, a lot of people just soak them in water for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
If you're making like a soup, you can just throw them in and let them cook. Otherwise, you can just fry them up and they'll regain moisture that way.
I've worked a lot with dehydrated mushrooms, and I find them to be super delicious. You know, I think the dehydration kind of adds to the flavor, or maybe concentrates the flavor, but nothing wrong with a dehydrated mushroom.
Yeah, certainly. You know, like all the flavor still going to be there. There's nothing wrong with the mushroom, because I want my restaurants to get the best looking, ideal mushroom.
Right.
For their, so when it's plated and it's showcased on a dish, it's represented well.
Right.
They're a good source of protein in the event, you know, you don't eat meat. They're an absolutely great for substituting meat, because it has not the highest content of protein, but there's still protein in mushrooms.
Right.
So you can get your protein.
I think that's a really good point. In the last episode that we did, episode 80, we talked to folks from the Type 2 Diabetic Revolution. Check out that episode. But, you know, they advocate about a 70-30, 80-20 plant-based diet. And mushrooms are a big part of that because of the nutrition. So, guys, tell us the best way to prepare mushrooms, like before cooking, handling the mushrooms.
Okay, directly from your local farmer's market or grocery store. What I would do is lightly brush off any soil that may be still left on there.
And if you feel like you need to wash them, just lightly rinse them off. Just don't soak them, because the mushrooms do soak up water, and they're about 90% water, so it's going to take in all the water if you let them soak. So just rinse them off just a little bit, and they're good to cook.
Yeah, because when you go to saute a mushroom in butter or olive oil or avocado oil, once you do that, all that water is going to bleed right out into your pan, and just instead of sauteing them nice, they're going to boil, in essence.
Yeah, because when you cook a mushroom, you're releasing the moisture out of the mushroom.
Right. Yeah.
I definitely don't soak them.
Yeah, right. Don't soak them. Absolutely. Well, guys, anything else you want to add about mushrooms? Or anything else you guys want to talk about mushrooms?
It seems like there's a lot of mushroom farms popping up, and that gets me excited, because I don't believe in competition. I feel like if there was more mushroom farms, there would be more of a demand for mushrooms.
Thanks again for being on the podcast, Jason and Katie. I look forward to tasting your delicious mushrooms. And we'll be right back with the perfect sauteed mushrooms. My mushroom tip number 189. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, everybody. It's time for Mushroom Tips 189. So let's get right into it. A couple real basics about mushrooms. First, let's talk about the term saute. Saute simply means high heat, a little bit of oil. So the first thing you want to do always is clean and cut your mushrooms, but don't ever soak your mushrooms. You want to clean off excess dirt with a damp towel, or give your mushrooms a very quick rinse and dry. Cut bigger mushrooms into smaller sized pieces so they all cook evenly, but don't cut them too thin or they'll just shrink up while cooking. You want meaty, thick pieces. Those are the best. When you're sauteing in the pan, you need high heat, a little bit of olive oil or butter or avocado oil, and don't overcrowd your saute pan. They need plenty of room to sear. And again, you need high heat. Turn the heat up to medium high and allow time for your oil or your butter to get hot before adding your mushrooms. Look for the shimmer in the oil. Once you see that, keep the heat up, add your mushrooms, and do the flippy flip. Turn your mushrooms, keep them constantly moving so they get lots of even cooking and it can extract any extra moisture. So what does a perfect sauteed mushroom look like? Well, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need mushrooms, white mushrooms or gourmet mushrooms, cremini, shiitake, morels, button mushrooms, oyster mushrooms. You need some oil or some butter mixture. I like a combination of oil and butter, either a little olive oil or avocado oil. It allows for high cooking temperatures and brings out the flavor. And then for me, seasoning with a little salt and pepper for flavor. All right, let's do this thing. So we've cleaned and sliced the mushrooms. We've heated up the pan. We've got it on medium to high heat. And now we're going to add the mushrooms and do the flippy flip. So I like to cook mushrooms for about 3 to 5 minutes, stirring them and allowing them to finish cooking for a couple more minutes. Season with a little salt and pepper. Large mushrooms obviously can take a little bit longer, but the beauty of delicious mushrooms, season them with onion powder, garlic powder, fresh garlic, green onions. Mushrooms are amazing oven roasted. Once my mushrooms are completely cooked, I like to use the word deglaze. After a good saute, you'll notice some bits of mushrooms may cling to the bottom of your saute pan. Well, there's a whole lot of flavor there and can be infused back in with a simple deglaze. So what is deglazing? That simply means adding some liquid to the hot pan, a little splash or so to bring up all the particles. You can use white wine, you can use cooking stock, you can use vegetable stock, you can use a little bit of water, any kind of liquid. Simply add a few tablespoons. You could even use cream or sherry in the pan and the mushrooms are done cooking. Keep the temperature up, stir till the liquid evaporates, and you are ready to enjoy. Here are the nutritionals for this mushroom dish, and they're amazing. Only 4 grams of carbohydrates, 13 grams of fat, 56 grams of sodium, 1 gram of fiber. They're super good, super delicious, and very nutritious. Love the nutritionals of mushrooms. Now, according to WebMD, 1 cup of mushrooms, about 70 grams, provides 15 calories, about 2.2 grams of protein, about 2.3 grams of carbohydrates, 0.2 grams of fat. Gotta love that. And mushrooms are a great source of copper, B vitamins, potassium, and iron. Mushrooms are also a great source of fiber. And fiber helps keep your blood sugars from spiking. So the more fiber you can add to your diet, plus it gives you that full feeling. Mushrooms are also very high in antioxidants, which have been shown to fight inflammation, improves brain function, and supports bone health. Hey, mushrooms, we love you, baby. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode about mushrooms. And if you happen to have a favorite mushroom recipe, share it up. Hit the contact link, reach out to me. I'd love to share it with all the listeners, or go to my Facebook page. You'll find all the links to my social media at happydiabetic.com. All right, everyone, stay tuned. We will be right back. If you're loving what you hear in the kitchen, please share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone you know living with diabetes, type 1, type 2, or my favorite, the type 3, that wonderful, loving support person. Please leave a comment or feedback wherever you listen. It's super important. So I know exactly what you like and how I can make this the best podcast ever. Please reach out to me at my website, happydiabetic.com. Hit the contact link and share a recipe or a comment or a question. We want you to live your best happy diabetic life. Thanks again for listening. This podcast is not intended to replace any professional medical advice. The views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or the Happy Diabetic Kitchen. Always seek medical advice from a registered certified dietitian, diabetic educator, or your doctor. I'm not a dietitian, a certified diabetic educator, or a doctor of any kind. Although I have 3 children, Attila, Dracula, and Frankenstein, that makes me a psychiatrist of sorts. Always consult your medical professional when making any changes to your lifestyle, diet, medication, or anything going on with your diabetes. The Happy Diabetic Kitchen is made from scratch, seasoned with love, cooked to perfection. Our theme music is by the Happy Diabetic Kitchen Band, and of course, our kitchen mascots, Scout and Tucker, who can't wait to head outside. The snow is melting, and they are ready to go. But first, they've got to wake up from their nap. And please remember this. This year, better than last year. This month, better than last month. This week, better than last week. And this day, today, better than yesterday. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and let me leave you with this thought. Chef Jamie Oliver, the amazing English chef, once said, "Cooking is the ultimate giving." So hey, share it up. Share your cooking love with friends and family. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. And remember this, no one loves you more than me.